This episode of Greenhouse Grower to Grower is brought to you by Westbrook Greenhouse Systems, a trusted North American leader in complete greenhouse solutions. From structures and heating to curtains, benches, and full installation, Westbrook delivers systems built to perform and built to last. With a team known for long-term expertise and reliability, you can trust Westbrook with your next greenhouse project, whether it's glass or poly, open roof or freestanding. Learn more at westbrooksystems.com. Connect with them on LinkedIn or visit them at major industry shows across North America.
Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we're shaping the future of floriculture, one conversation at a time. We talk with the growers, leaders, and innovators shaping tomorrow's greenhouse industry today. From market trends, next generation plants, and innovative production, to the challenges and breakthroughs redefining what it means to grow. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. Let's dig into what's next together. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast. And in this episode, once again, you get our internal team at Greenhouse Grower talking about the things that we're hearing in the market, conversations we're having, travel that we've recently been on, travel that we're going to, etc. So I've got our full team in place here. Again, it's Brian Sparks at Greenhouse Grower. I am joined by Marisa Reyes, our content specialist.
Hello.
And then Kristin Zeit, who is the content lead for CEA World, which is one of the brands within our company, Meister Media Worldwide, that Greenhouse Grower works very closely with. So Kristin and Marissa, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Definitely. Though it's springtime in this industry, so the fun never stops right now.
Oh, yeah.
One of the big things that we have going on right now for Greenhouse Grower is our Top 100 survey. So our Top 100 program has been around for quite a few years. It's an annual ranking that we put together of the largest growers in the industry, ornamental growers, based on square footage. We build a list that starts with a survey, but there's a whole lot more in the survey than just asking about square footage. We dig in with the industry really deep and ask about business management trends, crop shifts, how you deal with key pests, how you're investing in technology, how you're approaching labor, well as some more timely topics. Transportation and logistics is always a huge thing. Certainly now with the regulatory and tariff environments, how that's factoring into grower planning for the years and beyond. So our Top 100 survey is out now. You can find more information on greenhousegrower.com on how to take that survey. It's generally aimed at growers who I would say are upwards of 400,000 square feet or so. Usually the bottom part of the list is right around that 400,000 to 500,000 square foot range. Again, floriculture and ornamental crops. So we invite those listening to take the survey as soon as you can. We do a couple of things with the survey, and I know, Marissa, you and I just chatted this morning about some of the things we have in the works. So it starts with our May print issue, that is almost completely Top 100 focused. We'll have the list there, and we'll have a number of other topics that we'll dig into, whether it's in the form of infographics or just some of the more open-ended questions we ask. And then from there, I know as you and I were saying, there's so much great content that we get out of that survey that it's going to extend well beyond the print issue into a series of digital articles, extra podcasts like this, videos. Marissa, as you and I were talking about that, what jumped out at you in terms of what we could be doing with this?
Well, there's so much insight that you get from the survey. You have a lot of opportunity. Well, we do. We have a lot of opportunity here to shape this in a way that can really bring a lot of information towards what people are doing and how it can shape their greenhouses, or something they can take from what these growers on the top 100 list are doing and how they can put this into practice at their own business. So for me, I think really just trying to drive these trends of how this is floriculture forward, what people are doing and how they're growing and expanding, and who's leading the industry right now, and how this list basically reveals what the ranking is for the future of floriculture. So I'm really interested to see how we can take that information and put it into a digestible format for our readers so they can grab something from it.
Yeah, and just address a couple of the points there you made. it isn't just about what's happening now. To your point, it's about the future of the industry. So, as a grower, where are you investing in technology for the future? How are you sourcing your team? What are the things that you're doing to both attract new talent and retain talent? What are some of the new benefits you might be offering to your employees? So, it's really built around, again, not just where we are as an industry now, but where we're headed in the future. And to your point as well, some of the different take home messages. This isn't just about us talking about the biggest growers in the industry because while certainly they're leading the way in a lot of things, this industry is made up of so many different size operations, and we've seen so many different times, you know smaller growers can learn from bigger growers, and at the same time bigger growers can glean some insights from some of the smaller growers in the industry as well. So this is our chance to kind of put all of the content that we can glean from these larger operations into one package that would really help tell their story and how where the industry could be headed in the future.
Absolutely.
It's something I know we're really excited to put together. I think Marissa, you started about a little less than a year ago at this time. So
Yeah.
this was one of the first big issues you worked on last year, if I recall.
I think so, or just the tail end of it, because I started in April, so you're right, I am coming up on a year now, but I remember going to Cultivate, and this was a huge topic there, so I was either right at the tail end or this is where I started, I can't remember. A lot has happened during that time, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I know, Kristen, we've done similar things in the CEA market as well. Not to this level yet, but that's something that we're really trying to focus on is who are the growers on the CEA side that are really driving the future of the industry as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be really interested to see after last year with so much, you mentioned regulatory stuff and things that are happening geopolitically and all of that. After last year, how the survey respondents are going to what might be different, what might be the same in terms of coming into this. I'm really curious to see um, what that means right now, and then also what it's going to mean for the future. How is this setting things up going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you see some consolidation taking place too. And, some of the companies that are part of that consolidation are still running independently, others are not. Um, but what that does is it also opens the door for opportunities for other companies in the industry to fill some of those gaps. And, there's always openings that, the most innovative companies can jump in and take advantage of. So, that's something we want to try and track as well. Kristen, I want to ask you as well. So, as the content lead for Sea Ag World, you're involved in a lot of conversations across the industry. You travel to different industry events. What are some of the key things that you're hearing right now in terms of as that industry continues to evolve and innovate, kind of where it stands right now?
Yeah, I think the CEA produce industry is in a really interesting place right now. So I just got back from Indoor Ag Con in Las Vegas, and the overall sentiment there was really a continuation of what we heard and saw at the CEA World Conference and Expo in November, which is that the industry is really kind of settling back to earth after the big tech hype and investment boom and bust from a few years ago. So, what hands-on growers, most hands-on growers have known all along, but investors didn't seem to understand, is that it doesn't matter how fancy or futuristic the technology is. I've interviewed Corey Ellis from Grocer, which is a huge container farm company. Um, and he likes to say, you don't push a button and a lettuce pops up. Um, it's still farming.
It's a good visual.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to Corey there. I love that. But it's true. It's still farming. It takes patience. It takes perseverance. You have to have agricultural training, and the margins are going to be slim. So now it finally seems like everybody's understands that now and is kind of on the same page with it. The innovation is still happening, and new technology is still being introduced regularly. There's still so much cool stuff coming out. Um, but everybody gets it now that the technology is really just another tool. Success depends on unit economics and meeting the needs of your customers with the amounts they expect and when they expect it, and doing that consistently. So the conversations at shows like Indoor AgCon and the CEA World Conference are more and more about sharing best practices at that more granular level. and finding the right tools to help your specific operation reach your goals. So when you hear about new technologies or products, it's about asking the right questions around how is this going to help my operation specifically and what I'm trying to do from all these different angles. So it seems like we're really, the produce industry in CEA is really starting to kind of dig into that level of, all right, now we got to let's be practical about this and let's pay attention to the business side at its simplest terms.
I remember when we first started, tapping into this market as a company, and all these new key players were entering the industry. We would often ask the question: Are you a crop producing operation? Are you a grower that is looking for ways to use technology to innovate, or do you consider yourselves a technology company that has selected food production as the direction you want to go? And I think how they answered that question could give you a good vibe for, who some of the long term players in the industry. And to your point, Chris, and I think that's really exactly what we're starting to see play out now is those companies that are focused number one on the crop. How do I grow a crop? What are the tools I use in play that I can put into place to produce a better crop? In the most economical and highest quality way as well, I think.
Yep, for sure. Definitely.
Kristen, you mentioned briefly the CEA World Conference and Expo, which I know, we wrapped up the most recent one this past November, but I know plans are already in the works for, this coming year's event. If I recall, I think one of the big focuses now is on speaker recruitment and lining up speakers for that event.
Yep. Yeah, we have open nominations or open the call for presentations for speakers. We learned a lot from last year. We had a lot of conversations with the growers who were in attendance and with the other speakers. And again, through all the conversations that we're having throughout the year, figuring out what the hot topics are and what really resonates with people, tracking the content that we post daily and seeing those kind of trends. So it's, running a conference like that, there's no real downtime. So
Yeah.
it's right back at it and really kind of putting together now, lining up speakers now, lining up the right topics now, so that we have like the absolute best program by the time November comes around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I know it's been a great event so far, and continuing to build for future success, in this market, and really give the other industry a chance to learn with and learn from each other, I think. So it's another great opportunity.
Yep,
Um,
for sure.
Speaking of opportunities, I know Marissa's been really excited to talk about this. So coming up right about a month from now is California Spring Trials. I know this will be both of your first time attending. Marissa, in particular, given your background coming into, working with Greenhouse Grower and our team. Um, I, I know you've been excited since you started to be able to experience California Spring Trials. So I'll let you take it away and talk about what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, well, cast is coming quickly. I think the last time we talked, Brian and I was on here, it was just one of those events we were starting to figure out what that would look like for our team. And, now we're only a couple weeks away and we're deep into planning what our trip's going to look like. And honestly, the anticipation is really building for me because, like you said, just being in this industry too, I haven't had the opportunity to go to all these really big events. And that's one thing I really loved about being part of Greenhouse Grower is that I do get this opportunity to also put myself out there and join these events and get to meet people. So, as both a horticulturalist and a consumer, I love anything flowers and color. But what I'm especially watching for this year is we're going to travel through the coast is new and improved varieties and how these fit into real programs for growers and how that translates to the home gardener. So things like pollinator friendly plants, container programs, retail ready items like combos, and varieties that tie into seasonal and holiday programs, to just name a couple things on my mind. But, breeders are putting in so much time into testing and refining these varieties before they reach the market. And I feel it's my duty as an industry reporter to spotlight these and also explain why it matters and how these varieties are going to make production easier, perform better at retail, and ultimately help the grower and the gardener succeed. So I'm just really looking forward to it and being able to get out there. And I was hoping to come on today with, maybe top 3 from submissions that were sent to me as I was putting together my cast article for the March issue we just wrapped. But it's so hard because there's so many strong submissions. But I will say that grasses really impressed me this year in the submissions. Darwin has a free spirit series that just came out, and I loved the variety names. They were very fun and memorable. This was something that immediately stood out to me when I was thinking about, some top favorites. Like there's Comet and Mystic Purple. And I just feel like Free Spirit Mystic Purple is a plant for me. And it makes me wonder, like how much is a name going into selling a plant? How mouthy and how memorable it is. Because if I see something like that at retail, I'm like, oh, that's for me, and I'm bringing that home. So that was just something that stuck out to me. And I've always been one for medicinal plants and herbs, and lavender is something I grow every single year. It always has a spot in my garden, and there were quite a few lavender introductions I'm really looking forward to. And I mean, it checks so many boxes. It's fragrant, it's an herb, it's associated with repelling mosquitoes, and if you love a summer bonfire, like why not be surrounded by lavender?
Sure.
And it's useful in the kitchen. Like honey lavender is something I make every season, and there's really nothing to it. You just pour honey over lavender and let it sit in the sun. It's phenomenal, and it's great in the tea. So I'm just, maybe I have a little bit of bias when I'm looking at plants too, but there are definitely things that I'm looking forward to this year.
And I'm expecting you to drop some of that honey lavender in the mail as soon as we're done talking here. So you can't talk about
Yes.
it and not be willing to
If
share.
I'm for sure, and especially when I see you for Cultivate, I'll have a bunch, so I'll bring some.
I'm excited for Cast 2, and now I'm even more excited because we'll be going together, Marissa, because you are gonna be so helpful to me, and your enthusiasm about it is just, really great. So I'm excited to just by how much I'm gonna be able to learn about the floriculture side of things, and now I'm even more excited. You're gonna
Yeah,
be great.
dive in. We're gonna have a blast, and I can't wait to talk plants with everybody. It's honestly where I thrive, so
Oh,
I'll be
yeah.
looking forward to being there with all of you.
Well, and I know, Marissa, you mentioned you already did a lot of the work in advance, connecting with all the breeders who are going to be there to, you were asking them about what are some of the big things that they want to highlight there. And of course, you'll see a lot more than that when you're there. And for those listening to this, we've done in the past, we'll have a full team there that's going to be providing daily coverage of the event. So I know, what we'd expect is, between the two of you and Dr. A. Allen Armitage is going to be with us as well. At the end of each day, kind of talking about what did you guys like best. So whether you follow Greenhouse Grower through our newsletters that go out over the course of a week, through all of our social platforms, you can expect to see a lot of on the ground coverage from California spring trials. Even beyond that, I know this is such a busy time of year that growers don't always have the time to keep up on a daily basis with what comes out of an event like California spring trials. That's where we have a lot of post-cast coverage, whether it's in the form of slideshows or a lot of videos that we'll be doing on site and then posting in the weeks and months coming out of California spring trials. All of that leading up to something we haven't talked about that yet, and this may be a topic for another conversation down the road, is our Medal of Excellence program, because we do a series of awards at Cultivate every year, and a couple of those are specifically tied to what comes out of California spring trials. I know, especially for you, Marissa, the Editor's Choice Award is in your hands this year, so
Yep.
no
Water your
pressure.
plants, you guys. I'll be watching.
Marissa, you brought up the March issue there because I know we'll have some cast preview coverage in that issue. That literally just went out the door this morning. So, any highlights that you want to talk about that we'll be featuring in the March issue? I know, it starts with the cover story that you put together.
Yeah, I did a great cover story this year celebrating 100 years with Monrovia. That's crazy. 100 years is such a long time for any business, and what a milestone to reach. So, definitely check it out. There's some really cool vintage images also. So, if you need a reason to look, there's one. Um but yeah, I mean, we've got cast highlights throughout. And also too, our Unbound section is a little revamped this issue, so you'll see some future floriculture themes sneaking in throughout the issue. Yeah, you'll find also again the call for CE Ag and GG Connect events right away. There's just a lot of really great stuff. There's PCR analysis and what growers can
Yeah.
take away from that in terms of, getting a disease diagnosis quickly and efficiently so you're not wasting time trying to prevent it and also wasting money along the way. So definitely pick it up and read it. There's a lot of great content in here, and I'm really proud of this issue.
Yeah, and you mentioned the PCR testing and pathogen testing. We'll actually have a follow episode of this Greenhouse Grow to Grow podcast going into a little bit more detail on that topic. So, because things are moving pretty quickly in that area. So that March issue hits mailboxes and hits the interwebs, if you call them, around the middle of March. So keep an eye out for that. So, there's again, spring's a busy time for everybody in the industry, including us. So there's always something going on. So, I want to wrap up today's discussion. We did this last time, where we just throw out a random fun fact about ourselves. This could be,
Oh,
it
yeah.
could be industry related, could be one of our hobbies, could be something completely off the beaten path. And I'm going to throw out one for myself in this case. And this does not fall into a hobby or anything like that. I've never told either of you this. I once got a personal phone call from a gangster.
Okay, I need to know more immediately. Need details
So
like that. You can't stop there.
no, I cannot. So here's the details. So I have a friend of mine that I used to work with who one of his side jobs, he was a film critic. And our in-person connection time had passed, but I was visiting him. He lived at the time in the Baltimore area. So I went and visited him, and he was still doing film reviews. So we were on our way to go see a screening of I don't remember which movie it even was. And along the way, we stopped at the house of a friend of his who was going to be joining us for the preview. And he told me a little about his friend in advance. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the movie and the book Goodfellas. It's a story of
Yeah, of
Henry
course.
Hill. Um, his friend, Ghost, was the ghostwriter of the sequel to Goodfellas, the book, which is all about Henry Hill's time in the witness protection program after everything, that was portrayed in the movie. So a little bit of backstory there. So we went to this guy's house to pick him up for the movie. We're sitting around his living room, and the guy's phone rings, and he steps out of the room to get it. I continue talking to my friend. The other guy comes in the room and says, "Hey, Brian, the phone's for you." Okay, I don't know what this is for. Hands me the phone. He had arranged for Henry Hill to call me directly because they knew I was such a fan of the book and the movie that he called
Wow.
me and just said, "Hey, Brian, hey, this was no more than a few months before he actually passed away." And
Oh,
so, of course,
wow.
I'm completely in awe and I have no idea what to
Of
say,
course.
but I just said, like, I appreciated your story. I don't want to say I loved your story because I mean the guy's background is not exactly wholesome or anything like that. But so they had arranged for this personal phone call from a prior gangster, mobster, whatever you call him, to
It's amazing.
to give me a call. So yeah, I was
I
I
bet you were surprised.
I
Yeah.
was certainly surprised. I was heading out to actually an industry event after that, and I got on the phone. I was driving afterwards, and I called my dad, and I said, "Dad," because I saw Goodfellas with him. It's like, "Dad, you will never guess in a million years who I just get a phone call from." And sure enough,
That's
that's a little
incredible.
unique insight into some of my history.
That's something you're never gonna forget.
Oh
You'll be
no,
telling that story when you're old and gray on the rocking chair outside, like
oh believe me,
that's a great
yep,
story.
exactly. Marissa, what about you? What do
Well,
you
I
want to
don't know
share?
how I'm gonna top that. Um, but one thing about me that you might not know is I grow and cultivate mushrooms in a little mini greenhouse in my sunroom. So, yeah, I got really into foraging mushrooms throughout the season. You can find different types of mushrooms growing in the woods at different times. So all year round, I'm out in the woods doing that. Morels are a fan favorite for everybody. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing here in April.
Nice,
But yeah, so I really got into doing it at home through a company called North Spore Mushrooms. They sent me a bunch of different, like, spore blocks, and it's just been gone from there. So I have pink, blue, and yellow oysters, and I have something called blind cap. So it's
nice.
very
That's
cool. Yeah.
awesome.
So
That's
that's
a
something
big
I do.
that's an up and coming industry in CEA for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, no
I love it.
kidding.
And my local Fresh Time sells, like, lion's mane
Yeah,
as well.
that's
So
a big one. Yep.
yeah, I just got a bunch of that, and I know the FDA within the past 2 years approved turkey tail mushrooms as a cancer-fighting mushroom, and there's so much research behind, what mushrooms do for our bodies and our minds, and so it's really hard to ignore, so, yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Kristen, what about you? What do you want to share?
All right. My cool thing is that I just happened to be redoing my back garden this summer. Like my back garden is a disaster, and I wouldn't even show you a picture of it. But we're redoing the entire thing, and so that is another reason why I am so excited to go to CAST, and so excited to have Dr. A and Marisa on hand to fill me in on everything I need to know about what types of flowers, what types of grasses, how
What
you know,
thrives? Yep.
I'm just, yeah. So be prepared, Marissa. I will have many, many questions. So I'm super excited about that because I want a little backyard oasis. You
Yes, I'm
know.
always
And-
free for landscape design advice. I've designed quite a
Oh,
few gardens, so
all
I'm
right. That will
happy
be
to
the
help.
topic of the next Grower podcast. Okay, Brian. Can
Oh, yeah.
Marissa and I just talk about? She can
Yes.
design my backyard for me.
I'm just going to sit in the background for the next episode and let you two have at it. So, because I think between that and just going to California Spring Trials,
Yeah.
you'll start to receive
Yeah.
plants from the folks that you talk to there. So,
Yep.
get ready for
Well,
that.
We'll
I'm
have
for
a lot to
sure.
say.
super excited about that that whole process and the whole learning around it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we covered a lot of ground here. So again, thanks to those who are listening. Be sure to follow Greenhouse Grower on our website through our e-newsletters and through all of our social channels. Watch for our team at California Spring Trials, and then you get down the road later on this summer into events like Cultivate. Great catching up with both of you today, and let's keep the momentum going. We're all about the future of the industry here, so whatever we can do to help tell that story, something that we want to do. So again, thanks to both of you for being on the conversation today. Thank you for joining us. You can learn more about this and other topics at greenhousegrower.com, and you can also follow Greenhouse Grower on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and please leave us a rating or review as it helps other listeners find the show. The Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast is produced by the team at Meister Media Worldwide. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower.